All right, last molecular geometry one. I thought the last one was it, but this is really the last one. All right, so we have nitrite, NO2 -1. First of all, why is it NO2 -1? Why does polyatomic ions start in the first place? Well, let's look at NO2 by itself. What do we have? We've got 5, 6, and 6. That's 17 electrons. You're never going to be able to pair up 17 electrons. It's an odd number. So you're never gonna be able to pair that up. So what happens is that nitrogen comes by, bonds with an oxygen, bonds with an oxygen, drawing it evenly, like I told you to do. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. We've got 16 electrons there. Now, in all reality, there's 17. These guys have 8. Let's go ahead and just put one more right there. Ooh, okay. Now, we have 1, 2, 3 areas of negativity. So let's just go ahead and affect the shape. Boop, 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 boop. All right, so we have ourselves our trigonal planar shape. And we have what we call a free radical, which basically means that we have one extra space for an electron to come in right there. Now, before we do anything else with this molecule, what's gonna happen is this NO2 is gonna go and it's gonna take an electron away from something that's willing to give it. So NO2 will bond with sodium. Sodium will have its electron taken away, and now NO2 has a -1 charge. So that's why polyatomics have charges, because they act as something that can take an electron, like an overall non-metal. And so now what happens is that extra electron will be there. Okay, great. Now we look at this and we go, oh, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Well, yes, this guy does have 18 electrons. So I need to let the readers know that I'm not an idiot, that I can count NO2, because if I just looked at this and not saw that, I would go, wow, this person doesn't know how to count. So I need to let the reader know that I know how to count. So I'm gonna put the whole thing in brackets and put a -1 charge there. And that lets the reader know that NO2 had an extra electron. It was acting as a polyatomic ion. Because if you didn't have the brackets there, the reader would look at that and go, the person who's reading this, and whoever's reading this thing would go, this person does not know how to count 5 plus 6 plus 6. They said it was 18, that lets them know. Now, the other thing we gotta look at is this. This has 8, this has 8, this can only hold 8, it's not the third energy of the higher, so we can't expand it. So what we say is, we have 2, 4, 6, either one of these can share. Now, in all reality, they're both going to share. In fact, they're both going to share. Remember, there's all electron densities and stuff. So what we have is that pair can come off here, or we could redraw it again and show that it could have easily have come from the other. It could have come from the other guy. Either of these, those are arrows, either of these is what could have happened. In fact, it does happen, both of them. The actual electrons resonate. This double bond and this double bond, they're resonating back and forth. And so we call this a resonance structure. And you must draw both of them. You must put your brackets so let the reader know you're not dumb. You must show that you understand that this is showing that you understand it's resonating. And now you have the molecular geometry of this guy done now. The molecular geometry of this is done. One more thing, bond length. Typically a double bond is gonna be held closer, a single bond would be longer. So let's just say this is a length of a 2, and this would be a length of a 1. But in a resonating structure, it's a average of the two. So if this was, let's just say, if this was a double bond, we say it's a length of a 1. If this is a single bond, that's a single bond, we say it's a length of a 2. But if it's a resonating structure, we'd say it's a length of a 1.5. Not that big of a deal, but you must be able to say that. Whoops, gotta put that guy in the right spot. There we go. So now we have ourselves a polyatomic ion. You understand why it forms polyatomic ions. that you have to show that it's a negative charge, and that on top of that, understand the resonating structures. By the way, this is a trigonal planar shape, electron geometry, and it's a bent shape molecular geometry.